Today we're going to be learning about Parashat Vayechi, and we will explore what does it mean to truly live. It's interesting that a parsha about life speaks about someone's passing. And the question is, how can a parsha called Vayechi, and he lived, be almost entirely about death? The Torah does not describe Yaakov's youthful struggles, his years in the tents of Shem and Ever, his encounters with Lavan, or even his long separation from Yosef. Instead, he focuses on his final moments, his last requests, his blessings, and ultimately his passing. This tension is deliberate. The Torah is forcing us to ask a deeper question. What does it actually mean to live? Is life defined by breath, or by impact, or by years, or by what continues after us? Hasidut teaches us that the name of the parsha captures its inner essence, not just the storyline. So this parsha is teaching us that true life is not measured during a person's lifetime, but rather reveals at its end. This is why Vayechi mirrors Chayei Sarah. Sarah's parsha is also named Life, yet it begins with her death. The Torah is consistent in its message. A person's true life is visible only when we see what survives after them. If our values, our faith, and our direction continues, then, and only then, does a person still alive. It's not even long years of living, maybe spiritual empty. Yaakov's life is therefore defined not by how long he lived, but by what he left behind. Then we take a deeper look and see that Egypt is not just as a geographical place. Actually, Egypt in Hebrew is called Mitzrayim, which means constraint, limitations, suffocation. Thus, Egypt represents a culture of excess, a society that is obsessed with power and pleasure, a place where spiritual sensitivity is dull, and a comfort that slowly erodes purpose. And yet, the Torah tells us something shocking. Yaakov's best years were his final 17 years in Egypt, in Mitzrayim. How can the holiest of our patriarchs thrive in the most spiritually corrupt environment? The answer is actually critical. Yaakov did not adapt to Egypt. He built resistance to it. Before descending, he sends Yehuda ahead to establish a Beit Midrash, not a housing, not politics, not protection, but a Torah center. This teaches us that Torah does not merely protect identity, but it creates it. It creates life. Where Torah is alive, the soul remains alive even in Egypt. The Talmud makes a startling statement. Yaakov Avinu lo met. Yaakov did not die. This does not mean that his body did not stop functioning. What it means that death could not stop his influence. Yaakov's children did not abandon his path, but they carry his values forwards intact. Even in the exile deepened, this continued to be so. So from here we learn a transformative definition of life. If a person's ideals die with them, they were never really fully alive. And if their mission continues, death has no final say whatsoever. This is why the Torah avoids using the words death for Yaakov. It says only that he stopped breathing, because his presence, his essence, his truth never stopped. So Yaakov's refusing spiritual comfort, he makes Joseph swear, "Do not bury me in Egypt." At first glance, this seems like a simple burial request, but Hasidut reveals a far deeper tension between two spiritual models, Yaakov and Yosef. They are two necessary paths. Yosef represents engagements with the world. He descends into Egypt, governs it, and elevates it from within. And Yaakov represents transcendence. Egypt does not define him. He remains above it. We, the Jewish people, need both models. And Yaakov insists in something essential, that exile must never feel like home. Joseph is willing to leave his bones in Egypt temporarily, to strengthen the people within the exile. Yaakov refuses even that, because once exile feels permanent, redemption can become optional. Then we see that Yaakov elevates Ephraim and Menashe to the status of full tribes, something unprecedented. Why them? Because they embody a new reality. They were born in Egypt. They were raised in Egypt in Egyptian culture. They were fluent in the language of the exile. And yet, they were completely loyal to the Torah. They proved that holiness is not limited to a sacred space, but it can survive and even flourish in hostile environments. This is why Jewish parents bless their children, "May God make you like Ephraim and Menashe." Not because they were perfect, but because they were faithful under pressure. They represent Jewish continuity in a real world. Later, Yaakov wants to reveal the ends of the days, the moment of ultimate redemption, but suddenly divine inspiration departs from him. Why? Because redemption cannot be handed to us as information, but it must be built through faith, struggle, and choice. If the end will be known, then free will collapse, growth will disappear, and exile will lose its meaning. Instead of revealing the end, Yaakov gives us something far more powerful: his blessings, direction, identity, and hope. He doesn't give us answers, but he gives us tools for us to live and succeed within the exile. Jacob's blessings are the identity and the spiritual assignment for each of the 12 tribes. It's not a comparison. Jacob's blessings are not compliments either or favoritism. They're actually spiritual guidance. Each tribe receives a role. Reuben received moral responsibility and self-mastery, a potential for leadership. Shimon, passion and intensity, requiring discipline, meaning the zeal that must be refined and redirected. Levi, spiritual service and sacred leadership, the priests, the teachers, the guardians of holiness. Yehudah, leadership, courage, and kingship, the ability to step forward and take responsibility. Zebulun, material support and engagement with the world, commerce in the service for a higher purpose. Issachar, taller scholarship and spiritual depth, devotion to learning and spiritual analysis. Dan, justice and moral judgment. He's the defender of the vulnerable, restorer of balance. Gad represents strength, courage, and military protection. He's the front-line defender of the nation. Asher gives us abundance, nourishment, and blessings. His material prosperity used generously. Naphtali represents speed, communication, and inspiration, swift movements, eloquent expressions. Joseph represents moral beauty, resiliency, and leadership under pressure, remaining faithful and fruitful in exile. And Benjamin is fiercely loyalty and sacred intensity. He's the protector of holiness. That's where the location of the Beit HaMikdash will be in his portion. This teaches us that unity does not require sameness. Every soul has a role. The Jewish people are not one voice, but we are one mission. It means that each tribe and each person brings their unique strength into a shared mission. So, Joseph's final words are hope as our legacy. Joseph dies in Egypt, far from the land of his dreams. Yet before he leaves this world, he leaves his people with a sentence that will carry us throughout centuries of exile. He says, "God will surely remember you." These words become the spiritual oxygen of exile. When chains tighten and darkness deepens, this promise keeps our souls breathing. It keeps us alive. Joseph teaches us that redemption does not begin with freedom, but actually it begins with hope, with a quiet certainty that history is not random and that suffering is not the final chapter. Joseph teaches us that redemption does not begin with freedom. It begins with trust. Trust that even when nothing has changed externally, God is still present, still guiding us, and still remembering. This promise does not remove exile, but it gives meaning inside of it. And as long as the Jewish people carry this certainty, exile may surround us, but it can never define us. So in closing, what does it really mean to be truly alive? The Rebbe explains that through Torah and mitzvot, one can experience a foretaste of the messianic future, even while still in exile. And Parshat Vayechi teaches us that life transcends the body, that Torah creates eternity, that exile does not erase holiness, and that redemption begins before freedom. As long as Torah lives through us, we are indeed alive. And when Torah lives in Egypt, means that redemption has already begun. I hope you guys enjoy.